Hi,
Hey,
Mark. Good to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Dave. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I think, like yourself, looking forward to getting some football back. I was just wondering, personally, for you, how happy are you that we're going to be playing again on Saturday?
Immensely. And I think that's possibly an understatement. It's been a challenging 3-month period since we played Fulham last to get the game back on nationally, and then obviously here in Bristol. So there has been so many challenges, both on and off the pitch. But I think we're in fairly good shape ahead of Saturday, and whilst some anxiety still exists, I'm absolutely delighted that we're playing on Saturday.
You talked about some of the challenges. What were the kind of sort of biggest obstacles you think football and Bristol City face, really?
Oh, where do I start? It's been a dual role for me. Obviously, my primary goal is that of looking after the welfare of Bristol City and its staff and the business. But also as an EFL director, I don't think I could have sat on the board of the league at a more challenging time. So it's been a host and a range of challenges that we've had to deal with moving forward. I think with Bristol City, I think it was the realisation, probably a couple of days ahead of the Blackburn game, that we were going to need to make a call as a league to pull that game and not play it. I think we'd made a decision that our players and our staff weren't going to the Cheltenham Festival, which happened prior in that week, because we were getting anxious around the news reports that were coming out. And again, as an IFL director, you were starting to get a sense of the direction of travel of things that were going to come. And I think we then made the call not to play Blackburn, not to play the league games at that weekend. And from that point on, it was around initially, okay, what's happening here? What level of crisis are we in? From a league perspective, working with the league, who, remember, at that point in time had got no active chief executive. So if you like, the league representatives were taking a much more hands-on approach with the chairman, with Rick Parry, who I have to say I think has been fantastic through all of this, to really settle us down in the early days and formulate what the future could look like, and not about when we could return. It was almost in the early days if we could return. So there were continual discussions with government, the FA, the Premier League, UEFA, FIFA, DCMS, really around health and safety to start with, to try and understand what this pandemic really meant to us, and if, to start with, we could come out of it. And I think once we understood some of the practicalities and the ramifications for this, once the Prime Minister had locked the country down, we could then immediately start to work with government and with the relevant authorities and governing bodies to try and formulate initially a return to train programme. And from a Bristol City's perspective, and again, I'm going to talk about this more and more as we go through this interview, there are some unsung heroes who have not only played a massive part in bringing Bristol City back to play on Saturday, but have actually played a huge part behind the scenes in the national game in bringing us all back to play. You will have heard me talk about Andy Rolls and the important role he plays of head of performance here at Bristol City. He's played a really important role nationally. He's worked with both the government and with the Football League to help write the return to train and return to play performance protocols. And we owe the likes of Andy a huge debt of gratitude, because they've gone way above and beyond what they're normally asked to do, in to help get this game back, initially to training and then on Saturday to return to play. In the midst of that, my phone has been red hot, because obviously I have to deal with Bristol City first, staff, players, board, etc., both from a human perspective, but also from a financial perspective and a planning perspective. And then liaising with one of 3 championship directors who have been liaising with all of the championship clubs on a daily basis. So the volume of work has been immense. I think you can see that with the grey hair and the added wrinkles, Dave. But it's been a pleasure. And whilst we've had challenges internally, externally, I think it's been a time that people have genuinely pulled together, and their human, if you like, has come to the forefront. And you've seen the good in people within the village, which is football, genuinely trying to pull together, genuinely caring about each other. And I don't think I've ever been in a period where clubs have openly shared so much information, whether that be on key individuals, whether that be on a financial basis, whether that be on a planning basis, whether that just be on a care and concern basis. You know, I'd like to thank, and they will know they are, the owners of other championship football clubs who've regularly called me simply to see if I'm okay, simply to see if I'm coping okay. They understand the level of workload that's been needed, and they know who they are, I know who they are, and I'm so grateful to that, because we are competitors on the pitch. But I think you've seen a coming together off the pitch of owners, chief executives, managers, players, with a common drive to actually try and do the right thing, bring the game back in a safe manner, to protect the future of the industry, and look after the local communities in which the clubs sit. So on and off the pitch, there's been so much good work being done, and so many unsung heroes that I can't think of all of their names, but there are so many of them that people will not ever know have played such a huge part in getting that ball to roll 1 millimetre at 3 o'clock at Blackburn on Saturday.
I was about to say, in a sporting context on the pitch, when everything's so tense and there's so much rivalry, to see what you talked about off the field, does that kind of sort of reinforce your faith in the football family and in a sense of community, really?
It does. I think your sense of belief in humanity almost, because football is a very small part of society, and you've seen the death rate, the infection rate on a daily basis reported by the government. And we've had real life cases of that at Bristol City, where people have lost family and friends and have been unable to say goodbye to them, whether that's before they passed or at the funeral. And it's very real. So to see the way football, I think, as an industry has tried to pull together, and there's been challenges in that, and let's be clear, not everyone agrees all the time, and every decision you make can't please everyone all the time. But the way people have tried to pull together, and I think genuinely do the right thing, has been heartwarming, and it makes you realise what a special industry we work in. And I think we asked ourselves the question time and time again on the way through: is it right to try and bring football back? Are we doing the right thing? Financially and economically, we needed to do that, not just for the football industry, but also for the thousands of smaller industries that feed off football, whether that be the gaming industry, whether that be the local bakeries, the local food outlets, the local media outlets. There are so many touch points in industry and commerce that feed off the back of football. Economically, it was important to try and get football back safely, but as effectively and quickly as we could. On the other side of that, the other thing that it's made me remember, and also try and think back to when I was, a junior school level, like my daughter is of that age, what football meant to me. It's the game of the people. There are other sports in this world that are fantastic and amazing and impact people's lives. But for me, football is the game of the people. It's the common man's game. It's the working man's game. And I think the emotional, physical, and almost mental lift people can get from seeing football come back on Saturday will be huge. The players bear huge responsibility in that. and so do the staff. We've talked about that as a group. We've talked about the fact that the world is watching, and we've talked about the importance of the role model role, if you like, that our players and staff play to our local community. So we think economically it's important we play for all the right reasons, but we think really for the human, for almost the mental sanity of the nation. There are so many people, so many messages that I've had that I just can't thank everyone enough for those, for their encouragement and their support for myself personally and my colleagues around me to keep going, to keep working at this. Don't give up, bring the game back, get it back safely, but please bring it back. We need football back. So we've worked hard. And whilst you're a chief executive and you sit on the board of the Football League, it's not all about us. We sit in that role, but it's the people around us, whether it's the executive at the EFL, whether it's the team off the pitch at Bristol City Football Club, who deserve the credit for this, because without them, we wouldn't be back on Saturday.
I was just about to say, Mark, so Saturday's game, so when those 11 players walk out at Ewood Park, it'll be 105 days since we played Fulham. Will it be more than a game? Will it be representative of all the efforts and perhaps all the suffering and the hardship that people have gone through, not just in football, but in wider society? And as you said, a huge responsibility on those players, but they will represent perhaps more than just Bristol City.
Absolutely. As I've just said, and as I've said to the players on a number of occasions, the world is watching. And while supporters and families can't be in the stadiums, I know that they will be watching, and they will be with us in spirit, and we will know that their presence is with us. But we have a very heavy responsibility. Those people who know me and have the misfortune to sit close to me at football matches will know that I have real anxiety when Bristol City play, and I kick every ball. And I'll have that anxiety on Saturday at Blackburn, but it's a different anxiety. My anxiety today is for our head of player logistics, Matt Parsons, who is travelling to Blackburn today to make sure that the hotel is fine and sorted, but can't stay in that hotel tonight because it will be disinfected to a level where he has to stay somewhere else. It's for the chef who has to travel with us tomorrow. It's with the staff members who have to travel in their cars tomorrow because we have to take 2 coaches for social distancing because we're traveling for such a length of time. So my anxiety moves from actually, whilst performance is absolutely key, to actually I'm more worried about the individuals to make sure they're safe, because that's what's really important. Without those individuals, we wouldn't be playing on Saturday. Let's be really key. So I'm excited. I'm anxious at the same time. And I'm sure every other chief executive in the Championship will tell you the same. But together, we have got us to a place where football will return. And I genuinely think that will lift the spirits, hopefully, of a nation, and particularly for me, for the city and the people in the city of Bristol. We are delighted, slightly anxious, but can't wait to get back on the pitch on Saturday.
Obviously, there won't be crowds there, and it won't be stadiums as we know it. But from the messages you've received, from the social media, from the people who have logged on to Robin's TV already to redeem their code, do you feel that there is a weight of support which will be reflected by the team, and they can take that into the game?
I really do. As a team, we've talked about a moment in time, and be under no illusion, this is a moment in time. From a performance perspective, let's be really clear. We want to get promoted, and we believe we can get promoted this season. We're sitting one point outside the playoffs with 9 games to go. And we have a squad that has, I think, some of the best quality this club has ever had, and probably the largest amount of depth that this squad has ever had at this football club. And with 9 games to go, 5 substitutes allowed per game, that's going to be an advantage. The technical side is down to Lee and his coaching staff. I've seen the boys train a number of times. I saw them play an in-house game here at Ashton Gate this week, and they are as fit as fiddles. They look in great shape, and they are good to go. But to answer your question, yes, they do understand the weight of responsibility that they carry. And you've just talked on about something there about the messages that we've received. Internally, we are a very tight group. Bristol City staff on and off the pitch are very tight, and we talk about that regularly because at the moment, not all our staff will be travelling on Saturday because, again, we're trying to do this in a safe and sensible way. So there is a genuine care about the whole staff that sit behind the scenes. But in addition to that, I've been amazed at how many messages I've got from what I would call friends of Bristol City. And I'll probably embarrass him now by mentioning the likes of Steve Rawlins, who is a huge Bristol City fan. And whenever we need him, he's there for us. And he has just taken time out of his day to call me, send me a message to say, are you okay? Again, keep going. Please bring the game back. Bring it back safely, but bring it back. And to the likes of Steve and the thousands, almost others who've sent messages in it, I genuinely, and you all know who you are, want to say a huge thank you. Because for me personally, it's been tough at times. It's been brutal from a workload perspective for me and my colleagues. And have that support and just knowing that people are with us and encouraging us to keep going and encouraging us to bring the game back as quickly as we can has played a huge part in that. And again, I don't know how to express enough my sincere thanks to everyone who supported us to get to this point.
There's obviously going to be thousands watching via Robins TV, some in families, some people on their own. I suppose the message really is, wherever you are watching the game on Saturday, we are all in this together in the same way that we would be at Ashton Gate or our fantastic travelling away fans.
Dave, you're absolutely right. We had the practice game here at Ashton Gate in the week. We travelled to Southampton last weekend. We are returning to a very different world, and it's an uncomfortable world. And I'm not gonna hide away from that. You know, I've been to Failand this morning for my testing ahead of the game on Saturday with the rest of the staff and the players. Today we had a thunderstorm, and you know, we've got the Doc and Jill Holt, who have been fantastic in this whole process, standing in the middle of the car park in a thunderstorm in full PPE, testing the players, testing the staff to make sure we are all good to go for Saturday. And whether it's the likes of Jill or the doctor or Scotty Murray, Andy Rolls, Andrew Proctor, all of that team, you know, who have been in full PPE for the whole mini pre-season that we've had, consistently disinfecting every item of training equipment and clothing that the players are coming in contact with. They have played a huge part in bringing us back on Saturday. And again, I just think we owe these people a huge debt of gratitude, because not only have they done their jobs, this isn't about doing their jobs. This is a way of life for them. And trust me when I say they have gone way above and beyond to get us back to playing on Saturday.
I was about to say, 3 months ago, you would never have envisaged that you would have 2 COVID-19 officers. Can't imagine that, could you?
This Dave, no, I wouldn't. Sam Morse, who's one of those officers, along with Andy Rolls, again has been absolutely top draw. There are so many things that have changed in the last 3 months, and I would reiterate to everyone to try and understand that we're not coming back football-wise to the same world. It is an eerie place. Football stadiums are very odd places without people, and the people that we all care about, and the people that are there screaming and shouting for us on a Saturday. It's so unusual. But the protocols that we have in place are adhered to rigidly. They're not comfortable, as I've said. They are awkward, and they are tight, and they need to be, because these are the agreements that we have with government that we have to have in place to come back to train and come back to play. But again, it's the right thing to do. I genuinely believe that the nation needs football. The city of Bristol needs football back. And we need Bristol City back winning, which we'll try and do starting on Saturday.
just looking to the future, Mark, none of us have got a crystal ball. Is there any guarantee? Is there any hope? And because a lot of fans will be sat at home thinking, right, we've got 9 games, hopefully more. But what about next season? What about the future? Will I come back to the Bristol City that I know and I love? And is there a message you can give to them of hope, really?
Absolutely, and I think the moment we said we were coming back to train, hope returned. The fact that we're getting the games underway on Saturday, further hope returns. I think the focus change on football change on Saturday. I think the agenda will move from simply getting back on the grass and playing to winning, and I think that's a good thing because that brings a different focus back. I think from a football perspective and a league perspective, 100% we are talking through the start of next season again with the FA, the Premier League, and our European governing bodies. Because remember, we have a world football calendar that we need to fit into. The European Championship finals have been put back to 12 months, so we need to try and conclude next season by a certain point. That means we've got to start by a certain point. We've got all the cup competitions to get fitted in. We've still got competitions to finish this season. And I think before we finish this season, we can't really in detail provide a plan for next season. And that's why it's so important to finish this season, because let's not hide away from the fact that the challenges and the blockers that would prevent us finishing this season will still be in place potentially for the start of next season. So if we can't conclude this season, it makes the starting of next season all that more difficult. So let's be really clear. Yes, we're planning next season and we're planning that in some detail, but what we need to do is focus. I've said baby steps all the way. Blackburn away for Bristol City is another big, but yet baby step almost on Saturday. And we need to step through getting this season concluded and then roll into next season. And we hope that by next season or in the near future that, we hope that this pandemic becomes more under control and we understand more about it. And the government, hopefully at some point with the relevant authorities and medical backing, can find a long-term vaccine and solution to this problem. But before we get to that point, we've got to learn as a football club and as society how to manage, how to self-distance and follow the protocols that protects us, because only in doing that can we keep bringing football and society back to any state of normality.
I suppose let's focus on the short term. Blackburn on Saturday. You must be very excited.
Yeah. And let's turn to football for a second. Yes, we are excited. Spoke to Steve and John Lansdowne with Lee last night. He was talking through his team and his formation for Saturday. I won't give any of that away. We also need to get through a final round of COVID-19 testing to make sure that we are clear and all healthy for Saturday. But yeah, generally, football's back. And it'll be nice, if you like, for that 90 minutes to focus on football. Again, that brings a separate set of almost performance anxiety. But I think it'll be a relief, Dave, to get the boys back, see that ball roll at 3:00 on Saturday. And hopefully by 4:45, we've got another 3 points on the board. And there, but the grace of God, let's hope Bristol City are sitting in the playoffs at 4:45 on Saturday. So, yeah, let's get it on. Let's get the games going. The excitement is building.
Mark, thank you so much for your time and all the best on Saturday.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And again, I know I keep saying it, but thank you to so many supporters who have sent goodwill messages to the club, myself, Lee, the players, John, Steve, the staff. And thank you to everyone in the Bristol City family, in the Bristol Sport Group, from the likes of James Edwards, Susan Coombs, Matt Parsons, and everyone who's been involved with the amazing work, with the food drops. I'm going to include George, the chef there, who have impacted the lives of thousands and thousands of people in the city of Bristol, supporting food drops and meal drops, plus a huge variety of other work that's been undertaken in the Robbins Foundation and the other community groups we support here in Bristol. From myself, the Lansdowne family and everyone, thank you. we owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you.